John Martinez checked his watch as he and his wife Lisa walked up the driveway. It was just past 11 at night. The babysitter would be eager to get home. "Did you enjoy dinner?" Lisa asked, her hand warm in his. "Best steak I've had in months," John replied with a smile. "Thanks for making me take a night off." They reached the front door, and John noticed something strange. The door was slightly open. He put his arm out, stopping Lisa. "Wait," he said quietly. "Something's wrong." Lisa tensed beside him. "The kids?" John didn't answer. He pushed the door open slowly, listening. The house was too quiet. No television sounds, no babysitter greeting them. "Mrs. Peterson?" Lisa called out. "Zoe? Tyler?" No answer. They moved through the house quickly. The living room was empty. The kitchen was clean. But when they reached the hallway to the bedrooms, John stopped. On the wooden floor were strange marks, not footprints from any shoes he had ever seen. They were long, thin impressions with 3 points at the front. "John." Lisa's voice shook as she called from Tyler's room. He rushed in to find his wife standing in the middle of the room. The bed was empty, the window open. The same strange marks covered the floor. "Check Zoe's room," John said, his heart pounding. Lisa ran across the hall while John examined the marks more closely. During his time in Special Forces, he had seen many things, but nothing like this. He touched one of the marks. It felt slightly warm. "She's gone too," Lisa said from the doorway, her face pale. "And Mrs. Peterson isn't anywhere." John walked to the security panel on the wall. They had installed cameras last year after a break-in down the street. His hands were steady as he played back the footage, even as fear gripped his chest. The footage showed the front door at 9:47 p.m. It opened without anyone touching it. Then beings entered, tall, thin creatures with bluish skin and 4 arms. They moved with strange grace, their movements precise and coordinated like soldiers. They spread through the house quickly, out of camera range. The next camera showed Tyler's room. 2 of the beings entered, moving silently to his bed. The boy stirred but didn't wake as they lifted him. The third camera showed the same scene in Zoe's room. The final camera caught them leaving through the front door, each carrying a child. Mrs. Peterson was nowhere in the footage. Lisa's hand was over her mouth. "What are they?" she whispered. "I don't know," John said quietly. "But they took our kids." They called the police, who arrived 20 minutes later. The officers looked through the house, examined the marks, and watched the footage. Their faces showed disbelief. "Mr. Martinez," the lead officer said carefully, "are you sure this footage hasn't been tampered with?" "What are you saying?" Lisa asked, her voice rising. "This looks like some kind of prank, ma'am," the officer replied. "People in costumes, maybe. We'll put out an alert for your children, but you don't believe us," John finished. After the police left, promising little, John and Lisa sat at the kitchen table. "They're not going to help," Lisa said. Her veterinary scrubs from earlier were still draped over a chair. She hadn't changed for their date night. "They think we're crazy." "Then we help ourselves," John replied. His military training was coming back to him. Assess, plan, execute. "First, we need to gather everything we know." They returned to Tyler's room. John examined every inch, looking for anything the beings might have left behind. In the corner, partially hidden under the desk, he found it, a small metallic object about the size of a quarter. It was unlike any metal on Earth, with a surface that seemed to shift colors in the light. "What is it?" Lisa asked, leaning close. "I'm not sure," John replied, turning it in his fingers. "But it's giving off a signal." John had kept some equipment from his engineering days. In the garage, he connected the strange object to a signal analyzer. The screen showed a steady pulse, a clear transmission pattern. "It's a tracker," John said, "or a beacon. They're using it to communicate." "Can we use it to find them?" Lisa asked. "Maybe." John worked through the night, modifying one of his old field receivers. By morning, he had created a crude tracking device that could follow the signal. They packed quickly: water, food, First aid supplies. John unlocked his gun safe and took out his handgun and hunting rifle. Lisa disappeared into her home office and returned with a case of veterinary tranquilizers. Large. Animal sedatives, she explained when John raised an eyebrow. Strong enough to drop a bull elephant. They followed the signal to a remote area in the desert, 50 miles from their home. The morning sun beat down as they parked their truck behind a ridge and continued on foot. The signal grew stronger as they climbed. At the top of the ridge, they dropped to their stomachs and looked down into a small valley. There, partially hidden among the rocks, sat something impossible. A ship of some kind, but like no aircraft John had ever seen. It was sleek and oval-shaped, with no visible windows or doors. The surface shimmering slightly as if it wasn't fully solid. "Are those aliens?" Lisa whispered. John didn't answer. The word seemed ridiculous, but there was no other explanation. The beings from their security footage moved around the ship, their 4 arms working quickly to load equipment inside. "They have the kids," Lisa said suddenly, pointing. 2 of the beings emerged from the ship carrying clear containers. Inside each one, John could see the small forms of Tyler and Zoe, apparently asleep. "We need to get closer," John said. "Shouldn't we call someone?" Lisa asked. "Who? The police who didn't believe us? The military who would take weeks to respond? By then they'll be gone." John checked his gun. "It's just us, Lisa. We're the only ones who can save our children." Lisa looked at the ship, then at the tranquilizers in her hand. Her face hardened with determination. "Then let's go get our kids." Before they could move, the ship's surface rippled. A section disappeared, creating an opening. The remaining beings entered, taking the last of their equipment with them. A low hum filled the air, growing louder. "They're leaving," Lisa gasped. John watched in horror as the ship began to rise from the ground. He ran forward, sliding down the rocky slope, ignoring the cuts on his hands. Lisa followed close behind. But they were too late. The ship rose higher, the hum turning into a high-pitched whine. Then, just as it shot upward, John threw something, a small device he had quickly assembled from parts in his truck. It attached to the ship's hull with a magnetic clamp, blinking once before the ship vanished into the sky. "What was that?" Lisa asked, breathing hard beside him. "A tracker," John said, holding up his modified receiver. The screen showed a blinking dot moving rapidly away. "I can follow it." Lisa looked up at the empty sky, then at her husband. "How do we follow something into space?" John thought of his old friend Clay Daniels, who worked at the Aerospace Research Facility. Clay, who had access to experimental aircraft. "I have an idea," John said. "But you're not going to like it." Clay Daniels lived in a small house at the edge of town. John and Lisa arrived just before midnight, the tracking device still blinking steadily in John's hand. The signal was moving away from Earth fast. "You want me to do what?" Clay asked after they explained the situation. His eyes were wide with disbelief. "We need to get to the research facility," John repeated. "You have access." Clay ran a hand through his gray hair. "Even if I believe this crazy story, which I'm not saying I do, what you're asking is impossible. That facility has military-grade security." Lisa stepped forward and showed Clay the video from their security cameras. Then she placed the alien metal object on the table. Clay picked it up, turning it over in his hands. "This isn't from Earth," Clay whispered. "Neither are the things that took our children," Lisa said. Clay looked up at them. "Let me make a call." 2 hours later, they were driving toward the Aerospace Research Facility where Clay worked as a test pilot. His security badge got them through the main gate. The night guard knew Clay well enough not to ask too many questions about his guests. "The new prototype is in Hangar 7, Clay explained as they walked across the dark tarmac. "It's the only craft with a chance of catching whatever took your kids." The hangar was massive, its doors sealed with electronic locks. Clay swiped his badge and entered a code. The doors slid open silently. Inside sat a sleek black spacecraft unlike anything John or Lisa had ever seen. It was small, about the size of a private jet, but its shape was strange, almost triangular with curved edges. Meet the Aurora, Clay said. Experimental faster-than-light technology. We've only tested it twice in Earth orbit. Will it fly to space? John asked. In theory, it can go much further than that, Clay replied. But no one has tried. While Clay prepared the craft, John and Lisa gathered supplies. The facility had an emergency storage room with food, water, and medical kits. John also found a weapons locker. The guard's keys, borrowed without permission, opened it easily. The interior of the Aurora was cramped but efficient. The cockpit had 3 seats and walls lined with blinking electronics. Clay took the pilot's seat with John beside him. Lisa sat behind them, the tracking device in her lap. This is crazy, Clay muttered as he started the engines. If they catch us, we're going to prison for the rest of our lives. If we don't go, we never see our children again, Lisa replied. The hangar doors opened automatically as part of the launch sequence. The craft rolled forward, its engines surprisingly quiet. They reached the runway just as alarms began to sound in the distance. They've noticed, Clay said. Hold on tight. The acceleration pushed them back into their seats as the Aurora raced down the runway. The craft lifted off smoothly, climbing into the night sky faster than any normal airplane could. Through the windows, the stars grew brighter as the atmosphere thinned. Switching to space propulsion, Clay announced. There was a deep hum, and suddenly the ride became smoother. The sky outside turned completely black. Earth curved below them, a beautiful blue sphere. We're in space, Lisa whispered in awe. A light flashed on the control panel. Clay frowned. That's the radio. Someone's trying to contact us. John reached over and turned up the volume. Aurora craft, this is Air Force Command. You are flying a restricted aircraft without authorization. Return to base immediately or face serious consequences. John looked at Clay, who shook his head. If we turn back now, we'll never get another chance. Lisa leaned forward, the tracking device in her hands. The signal is getting stronger. They're headed toward that star. She pointed to a bright point of light. That's Proxima Centauri, Clay said. The nearest star to our solar system. It would take a normal spacecraft years to get there. How long in this one? John asked. Clay took a deep breath. If the FTL drive works as designed, 3 days. Lisa looked at the tracking device again. Our children are alive, I can feel it. Clay engaged the faster-than-light drive. The stars outside blurred, and a strange sensation washed over them, like being stretched and compressed at the same time. Then it passed, and the view outside showed unfamiliar star patterns. We're on our way, Clay said. On the alien ship, Commander Zilnax watched his 2 human specimens with great interest. The children were kept in separate chambers filled with a special gas that kept them unconscious but healthy. Their physiology is fascinating, he said to his science officer. Such dense bone structure. And look at the muscle development, even in the young ones. It's to be expected from Deathworld species, the science officer replied. Their planet has high gravity and countless environmental hazards. They evolved to survive conditions that would kill most intelligent life forms. Zilnax moved his forearms in a pattern that indicated deep thought. Do you think they have families searching for them? The science officer made a dismissive gesture. Even if they do, what could Earth humans possibly do? Their space technology is primitive. They've barely reached their own moon. Still, Zilnax said, I find it curious. Our data suggests strong family bonds. Their protective instincts toward offspring are particularly intense, a common trait among predator species, the science officer noted. But irrelevant to our mission. These specimens will provide valuable research data on Deathworld adaptations. An alarm sounded on the bridge of the Krathic ship. The navigation officer checked his instruments. Commander, we're detecting an unusual energy signature behind us. It appears to be a spacecraft. Impossible, Zilnax replied. We're moving at speeds no Earth vessel could achieve. The navigation officer adjusted his instruments. It seems to be following our exact course. The design is unfamiliar, but the energy signature is consistent with early faster-than-light technology. Zilnax's skin changed color slightly, showing his surprise. "Show me." The screen displayed a small black craft moving through space, following their trajectory perfectly. "How are they tracking us?" Zilnax demanded. The science officer checked the ship's systems. "Commander, there appears to be a foreign device attached to our outer hull. It's transmitting a signal." Zilnax stared at the image of the pursuing craft. "Could humans have followed us? For what purpose?" "Perhaps for the specimens," the security officer suggested. Zilnax considered this. "Increase speed. We will reach our homeworld before they can catch us, and prepare a patrol vessel to intercept them if necessary." Back on the Aurora, the three humans watched the tracking signal grow stronger. "We're gaining on them," John said, his voice tight with determination. Lisa looked out at the unfamiliar stars. "I just hope we're not too late." "We'll find them," John promised, reaching for his wife's hand. "No matter what it takes." Clay checked the ship's systems. "The FTL drive is holding steady. We should reach the Proxima Centauri system in about 48 hours. "And then?" Lisa asked. John's face was grim. "And then we show these aliens why you should never take a human's children." The Aurora emerged from faster-than-light travel with a gentle shudder. Through the front window, a red star glowed brightly. Around it circled several planets, one with a distinct blue-green color. "Proxima Centauri," Clay said, his voice filled with wonder. "We're the first humans to see it up close." John checked the tracking device. "The signal is coming from the blue-green planet." Lisa leaned forward. "Are our children still alive?" "The signal is strong," John replied. "I believe they are." Clay guided the ship toward the alien planet. As they drew closer, they could see it was smaller than Earth, with vast oceans and thin, wispy clouds. The land was covered in strange purple vegetation. "The gravity readings are low," Clay noted. "About 60% of Earth's. That explains the aliens' thin bodies," John said. "They evolved in a lower gravity environment." Suddenly, a warning light flashed on the control panel. Clay frowned. "We're being scanned." A moment later, a voice came through the ship's speakers. The language was strange, full of clicks and whistles. "They're trying to communicate," Lisa said. The alien voice continued for a few seconds, then switched to broken English. "Unknown vessel. You enter Krathic space. Identify yourself immediately." John looked at the others, then pressed the communication button. "This is John Martinez from Earth. You have taken our children. We want them back." There was a long pause before the alien voice responded. "Impossible. Earth humans have no interstellar capability." "We're full of surprises," John replied. "Return our children and we'll leave peacefully." Another pause. "Remain in position. Do not approach further. Patrol vessel dispatched." Clay looked at the scanner. "A ship is coming toward us, much bigger than ours." "Can we outrun it?" Lisa asked. Clay shook his head. "Not with our fuel levels. We used most of our power getting here. Then we faced them," John said firmly. The alien patrol ship was sleek and predatory, 4 times the size of the Aurora. It moved alongside them, then extended a metal tube that connected to their airlock. "They're going to board us," Clay said. John grabbed the weapons he had brought and handed a pistol to Lisa. "Remember our plan. We need information about where the children are being held." The Aurora's airlock opened with a hiss. 4 tall, thin aliens entered, each carrying what looked like weapons. Their blue skin seemed to shimmer in the ship's lights. All 4 had double sets of arms and large black eyes that blinked sideways. "Humans," the lead alien said, its mouth moving oddly around the English words. "You will surrender and explain how you followed us." John stood his ground. "Return our children first." The alien made a sound like laughter. "You are not in a position to make demands." One of the aliens raised its weapon. A pulse of energy shot out, hitting the control panel. The lights flickered and died, leaving only emergency lighting. "Electromagnetic pulse," Clay muttered. "They're trying to disable our ship." John had been waiting for this. During their journey, he had modified the ship's systems based on his military engineering experience. He flipped a hidden switch and the main systems came back online. The aliens' eyes widened in surprise. One of them fired another pulse. John ducked behind a seat as it hit the wall behind him. Lisa reached into her bag and pulled out a modified tranquilizer gun. While the aliens were focused on John, she fired. The dart hit one alien in the neck. It staggered, then collapsed. The other aliens turned toward her, but John was already moving. He tackled one, using his earthborn strength to easily overpower. The creature evolved in lower gravity. The alien's bones felt fragile under his hands, almost snapping from the force of his grip. Clay had grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall. He sprayed it at the two remaining aliens, filling the air with fog. Confused, they fired their weapons blindly. Lisa shot another tranquilizer dart, hitting a second alien. John grappled with the third, while Clay swung the extinguisher, knocking the fourth alien unconscious. In less than a minute, all 4 alien soldiers were subdued. John looked at his wife and friend, breathing hard. "Is everyone okay?" he asked. Lisa nodded, checking a cut on Clay's arm. "Nothing serious." John examined the unconscious aliens. Their bodies are so fragile. It's like they've never had to fight before. "Different evolutionary path," Clay suggested. "On their low-gravity world, physical strength might not have been as important as intelligence." John tied up the aliens with cord from the emergency kit. One of them, the leader, was beginning to wake up. Its large eyes blinked slowly as it regained consciousness. "Where are our children?" John demanded. The aliens stared at him. "How did you defeat us? You are just civilians." John leaned closer. "You didn't capture soldiers, you captured parents. Now, where are our children?" The alien skin changed color slightly, showing fear. "Research facility, northern continent. But you will never reach it. Our planetary defenses will destroy your ship." Lisa knelt beside the alien. "Then you'll help us get past them." The alien made a clicking sound. "Why would I help you?" Lisa held up one of her tranquilizer darts. "Because I modified these darts for your physiology. The dose I gave your friends will wear off. The one I could give you might not." It was a bluff, but the alien couldn't know that. Its skin changed color again. "The defense grid has a blind spot," it said finally. "I can show you." Using the alien's information, they plotted a course to the planet. The patrol commander was forced to send a false all-clear signal, allowing them to approach undetected. As they entered the atmosphere, they saw the alien world up close. Strange cities spread across the landscape with tall, delicate towers that would never have survived in Earth's gravity. "The research facility is there," the alien commander said, pointing to a large complex near the coast. "But it is heavily guarded." John studied the building through the ship's cameras. "How many guards?" 20 void guards," the alien replied. "Our elite soldiers." John looked at Lisa. She nodded, determination in her eyes. "Elite soldiers against desperate parents," John said. "They have no idea what they're in for." They landed the Aurora in a forested area near the facility. The purple vegetation provided good cover. Before leaving, John secured the alien prisoners and took their communication devices. "What's the plan?" Clay asked. John checked his weapons. "We use their patrol ship to get inside. They won't expect it." Lisa packed her medical bag with tranquilizers and other supplies. "And once we're in?" John's face was grim. "We find our children, and we show these Krathic what humans are capable of when their family is threatened." As they boarded the alien patrol ship, the commander watched them with new understanding in its large eyes. "You came across stars for just 2 children?" it asked in disbelief. "We would go to the end of the universe for them," Lisa replied. The alien's skin rippled. "Then the Krathic have made a terrible mistake." The captured patrol ship glided toward the research facility. John sat at the controls, following the instructions of the Krathic commander, who was secured in the back with Lisa watching over him. Clay monitored the communication systems, ready to respond if anyone contacted them. "Remember," the alien commander said, "the landing protocol requires a specific response code." When the call came, Clay played back the recording they had made of the commander's voice giving the proper clearance. The facility's control center accepted it without question, and the landing bay doors opened to receive them. They're not suspicious, at all, John noted as he guided the ship inside. Why would they be? The commander replied. No one has ever infiltrated a Krathic facility before, especially not primitive species. The ship settled onto the landing pad. Through the viewport, they could see other Krathic moving around the bay, their forearms working on various tasks. None appeared to be heavily armed. Stay here with him, John told Clay, nodding toward their prisoner. Keep the ship ready for a quick escape. Clay nodded, checking the pistol John had given him. John and Lisa put on the outer garments they had, taken from the unconscious patrol members. The clothing was too long and thin, but it might fool the others at a distance. The children will be in the specimen wing, the commander told them. Level 3, Eastern Section. They exited the ship, trying to mimic the graceful movements of the Krathic. The aliens in the bay barely looked at them, focused on their own tasks. The low gravity made John and Lisa feel strangely light, but they adjusted quickly. They found a lift tube that carried them to the 3rd level. The corridors were tall and narrow, designed for the thin bodies of the Krathic. Strange symbols marked the walls. This way, Lisa whispered, following the tracking signal that still pulsed from the device in her hand. They turned a corner and suddenly faced a Krathic scientist. It looked at them in surprise, immediately noticing they weren't Krathic despite their disguises. Before it could call out, Lisa fired her tranquilizer gun. The dart hit the alien in the chest. It dropped silently to the floor. Drag it out of sight, John said, looking for a storage room. They hid the unconscious scientist and continued down the corridor. The tracking signal grew stronger. Finally, they reached a large door marked with symbols that glowed with blue light. This must be it, John said. He examined the control panel beside the door. Lisa looked over his shoulder. Can you open it? John studied the alien technology. His engineering background helped him recognize patterns in the design. I think so. It's not that different from encrypted systems I worked with in the military. He pressed a sequence of symbols. The door remained closed. He tried again with a different pattern. This time, the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a large laboratory filled with transparent containers. Each container held a different creature, some resembling insects, others like nothing John or Lisa had ever seen. All appeared to be alive but sleeping. They're collecting specimens from all over the galaxy, Lisa whispered in horror. At the far end of the room, they saw 2 special containers. Inside were Tyler and Zoe, floating in a clear liquid, their eyes closed. The children! Lisa rushed forward. John followed, checking for any Krathic scientists. The room appeared empty, but he remained cautious. Lisa examined the containers holding their children. Her medical training helped her understand the alien equipment. They're in some kind of suspended animation. Their vital signs are stable. Can we wake them up? John asked. Lisa studied the control panel attached to the containers. I think so. This looks like it controls the sedative flow. As she reached for the controls, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed along the walls. They've discovered us, John said, drawing his weapon. Lisa worked quickly, adjusting the controls. The liquid in the children's containers began to drain. This will take a few minutes. They need to be awakened slowly. The door to the laboratory slid open. 4 Krathic security officers entered, each holding energy weapons. Their uniform markings were different from the patrol they had encountered earlier. Void guards, John muttered, remembering what the commander had told them. Surrender, Earth humans, the lead guard ordered. You are surrounded. John stepped forward, placing himself between the guards and Lisa. Let us take our children and leave. We don't want to hurt anyone else. The lead guard made a sound like laughter. Hurt us? You face the elite void guard of the Krathic Empire. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us. John fired his pistol at the ceiling. The guards flinched at the loud sound. Their large ears were sensitive to noise. Using their momentary distraction, John charged forward. The low gravity made his movements faster than the Krathic expected. He slammed into the first guard with force that would have been impressive even on Earth. In the lower gravity, it sent the alien flying across the room. The other guards fired their energy weapons. John dodged, moving with speed that surprised the aliens. Lisa ducked behind the children's containers for cover. One energy beam grazed John's arm, burning through his sleeve. He ignored the pain and grabbed a metal tray from a nearby table. Using it as a shield, he deflected another beam, back at the guards. Lisa had been watching the aliens' movements. Years of working with animals had taught her to recognize patterns in behavior. She noticed how the Krathic moved, the way their joints bent. When one guard came toward her, she aimed her tranquilizer at a spot where two of its limbs connected. The dart struck perfectly and the guard collapsed immediately. Pressure points work on them too, she called to John. John was grappling with another guard. The alien's forearms gave it an advantage, but its body was fragile compared to John's. Earth-evolved strength. He applied pressure to what seemed like a vulnerable joint, and the guard cried out in pain. The last guard backed toward the door, preparing to call for reinforcements. Lisa grabbed a container of chemicals from a lab table and threw it at the guard's feet. The container shattered, creating a slick puddle. The guard slipped and fell hard on the smooth floor. In less than 2 minutes, all 4 elite Void guards were disabled. John and Lisa were breathing hard but unhurt except for John's minor burn. "How are the kids?" John asked, returning to the containers. The liquid had almost completely drained. Tyler and Zoe were beginning to stir, their eyelids fluttering. "They're waking up," Lisa said, relief in her voice. As she finished speaking, a new alarm sounded. This one was deeper, more urgent. "Facility lockdown," a computerized voice announced in the Krathic language, then repeated in several others, including broken English. "All security personnel to specimen wing." John looked at the door. "We need to move fast. More guards will be coming." The containers opened with a soft hiss. Lisa quickly checked the children's vital signs. "They seem okay, no obvious injuries." Tyler's eyes opened first. He looked confused, then frightened. "Mom, Dad, where are we?" "We're here, buddy," John said, lifting his son from the container. "We came to take you home." Zoe woke next, immediately reaching for her mother. "Mommy, I had a scary dream." Lisa hugged her daughter tightly. "It's okay, sweetheart. We're going to be okay." John activated his communication device. "Clay, we have the kids. We need extraction now." Clay's voice came through with static. "I've got company here. 6 guards trying to get into the ship. I can't come to you," John thought quickly. "Is there another way out of this room?" he asked Lisa. She looked around and spotted a smaller door at the back of the lab. There. As they moved toward it, the main door slid open again. More Void guards entered, at least 8 of them. Behind them stood a taller Krathic wearing elaborate armor. "The High Commander," one of the injured guards gasped from the floor. The High Commander stepped forward, his forearms held in what seemed to be a non-threatening position. "Humans," he said, his voice deeper than the other Krathic. "You have defeated our elite guards. No species has ever done this before." John held Tyler protectively. "We just want to take our children home." The High Commander's large eyes blinked slowly. "Perhaps it is time for us to talk." The laboratory fell silent. John stood with Tyler in his arms while Lisa held Zoe close to her side. The Krathic High Commander towered over his guards, his skin shimmering with a pattern that seemed to indicate deep thought. "Your actions are unexpected," the High Commander said. "No species has ever pursued specimens across interstellar space before." "They're not specimens," John replied firmly. "They're our children." The High Commander's forearms moved in a flowing gesture. "Please, come with me to a more suitable place for discussion. I give my word that no harm will come to you or your offspring." John and Lisa exchanged glances. They had no real choice. They were deep inside an alien facility with more guards surely on the way. "Let Clay know where we are," John murmured. To Lisa, She nodded and sent a quick message through their communication device. The High Commander led them to a large chamber with a circular table. The walls were lined with screens showing different planets and star systems. The gravity here seemed even lighter than in the rest of the facility. "Please, be seated," the High Commander said, indicating chairs that adjusted to fit their human bodies. Tyler and Zoe stayed close to their parents, eyes wide as they took in their surroundings. "Where are we?" Tyler whispered to his father. "We're on another planet, buddy," John replied. "A long way from home." The High Commander settled into a larger chair. Two other Krathic entered, one wearing scientific insignia and the other military markings. "I am High Commander Valix of the Krathic Exploration Fleet," he introduced himself. "You have caused quite a disturbance in our research facility." "You took our children," Lisa said. "What did you expect?" Valix's skin rippled with colors. Fair point. But understand, we had no concept that you would or could follow them here. Your planet is classified as a death world in our records." "A what?" John asked. The science officer stepped forward. "A death world. A planet with environmental conditions so harsh that most species would find it uninhabitable. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, constant natural disasters, aggressive flora and fauna." "Earth," Lisa said in understanding. "Yes," the science officer continued. "Species from such worlds develop differently. Stronger bones, denser muscles, more robust immune systems, higher pain tolerance. We study such adaptations to better understand biological resilience." "By kidnapping children?" John's voice was hard. The High Commander's color pattern shifted to what might have been embarrassment. "Our standard collection protocols are designed for non-sentient or early development sentient species. Earth was incorrectly categorized as technologically primitive and isolated. A serious error in judgment," the military officer added. "We did not account for your remarkable adaptability or protective instincts. The fact that you crossed interstellar space in a prototype vessel, infiltrated our facility, and defeated our elite void guards is unprecedented." Lisa held Zoe closer. "We just want to take our children home." The High Commander leaned forward. "And you shall. But first I propose an exchange. Knowledge for knowledge." "What kind of exchange?" John asked cautiously. "We will share some of our technology, specifically improvements to your faster-than-light drive. In return, we ask for information about how humans have adapted to Earth's conditions." John and Lisa looked skeptical. "Not through specimens," the High Commander added quickly. "Through data, medical records, athletic performance metrics, adaptive traits, information freely given, not taken." While they were talking, Clay was escorted into the chamber by two guards who kept a respectful distance from the human. "John! Lisa!" he called out. "You're okay." "We're fine," John assured him. "The kids too." Clay looked around at the alien, technology with wide eyes. "They're letting me go just like that?" "Not exactly," the High Commander said. "We are negotiating terms." John stood up, his patience wearing thin. "Here are our terms. You release all the specimens you've collected from Earth and any other sentient worlds. You agree never to take humans without permission again. You provide us with enough fuel to get home. In return, we won't share the location of your world with Earth's military." The High Commander blinked slowly. "You believe your military would be a threat to us?" "If they knew you took human children," Lisa said, "they would send everything. They have." The military officer made a scoffing sound. "Your technology is centuries behind ours." "Is it?" John challenged. 3 humans in a stolen prototype ship tracked you across space, infiltrated your supposedly secure facility, and defeated your best soldiers. Imagine what hundreds of trained military personnel could do." The High Commander was silent for a long moment. His skin pattern shifted through several colors. Finally, he spoke. "Your terms are accepted with one addition. We propose a formal diplomatic relationship between the Krathic Empire and Earth. Not as collectors and specimens, but as equals." John looked surprised. "You consider us equals now?" "After Today's demonstration, we would be fools not to, the High Commander replied. Deathworlders like you have strengths we cannot match. We have technology you have not yet developed. There is much we could learn from each other. Lisa and John exchanged glances. We're not diplomats, Lisa said. We can't speak for Earth. But you can carry our message, the High Commander said, and evidence of our goodwill. Over the next few hours, they worked out an agreement. The Krothic released all specimens from sentient worlds. They provided the humans with star charts, fuel for their return journey, and modifications to the Aurora's engines that would make the trip safer and faster. As they prepared to leave, the High Commander presented them with a small device. A communication link, he explained. When your government is ready to establish formal contact, this will reach us. Tyler looked up at the tall alien. Are you still going to study Earth? The High Commander bent down to the boy's level. Only if your people invite us, and only to learn, not to take. As they boarded the Aurora with Clay, the Krothic scientists and military officers gathered to watch. Their skin patterns showed a mixture of colors that John had learned indicated respect. I still don't understand, the military officer said to the High Commander. They crossed the stars, faced unknown dangers, all for just 2 offspring? That is precisely what we failed to understand about Deathworlders, the High Commander replied. Their greatest strength isn't in their bodies, it's in what they're willing to do for those they love. The journey home took half the time of their outward trip thanks to the Krothic modifications. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, Tyler and Zoe pressed their faces to the window in wonder. It looks so beautiful, Zoe said. It is beautiful, Lisa agreed. Even if it is a death world. When they landed, they were met not by police or military forces as they had feared, but by government officials who had been tracking their return. Word of their journey had spread. The experimental spacecraft's disappearance and sudden return had made international news. Instead of being arrested, they were celebrated. The evidence they brought back, alien technology, recordings, and the communication device, changed humanity's understanding of its place in the galaxy. 6 months later, Earth sent its first official diplomatic message to the Krothic. 1 year after that, the first Krothic delegation arrived at the newly constructed interstellar embassy in Geneva. John and Lisa returned to their suburban home with their children. Their lives would never be truly normal again. They were too famous for that. But they had each other, and that was what mattered most. Do you think they understood in the end? Lisa asked John one night as they watched the stars from their backyard. What's that? John asked. Why they could never have won. Why no one should ever come between parents and their children. John smiled and took her hand. I think the whole galaxy understands that now.